Good morning. I've only had one cup of coffee, so I might speak a little more slowly. Not so caffeinated. Um, Around the year 2000, I met and became friends with a woman, let's call her Anna, who was a neighbor that lived a few blocks away. The way I met her was at the time my younger son, who is a brittle diabetic, I think he was like, he was difficult to handle because of the blood sugar going up and down and, me being a single parent and everything. But he was like running out in front of the house, running out like he was like mad at me, and he ran out and I ran out after him, and I said something to him. And she was jogging down the block. And because we lived in a development, a lot of people, like if they wanted to jog or run, they would come into the development. I guess it was like, safer or whatever. Like not hardly any traffic. And so like we practically collided, and she started cracking up, whatever it was that I said to my son. I guess it was funny. And she like stopped jogging and started cracking up, and she bent over and was holding her stomach. And we started talking, and we just clicked. And she said, "Oh, I run this route past your house every day." And I said, "Oh, well, the next time and then like I saw her again like a few days later, and we exchanged phone numbers. And it turned out I knew her mother and didn't realize who her mother was. But that's another story. So anyway, Anna and I became friends. Now, she was quite a bit older than me. I would say she was about 15 or 16 years older than me, and she was divorced, and I never met her son, but she claimed to have a grown son that was an attorney. I don't know. Anna was a little sketchy, so I don't know if that was true. But she lived with her mother in this big Victorian house up on the hill that overlooked the Hudson River. Oh my God, it must be worth like millions now. They sold it quite a few years ago. But anyway, we became friends, and she was a bit narcissistic, and I was, maybe I was a little bit needier back then because I was, I had my kids. I didn't have as much freedom and independence. And so sometimes we would go out or we would go over each other's house. And I remember her telling me that I was too sweet and too nice. This is back then, not now. And that she was going to give me bitch lessons. And I said, "Oh, but I can't." And she said, "Oh, yes, you will, and you'll like it." And she would tell me like the craziest things. And one of the things she said that I'll never forget is that I was like Sandra Dee. And then she used to do an imitation of how I would talk. And she knew that like I was doing online dating, and I was doing it like the clean, nice way, not the, hoochie mama way. And she did an imitation of me talking on the phone. And she would like, I'll try to do her imitation of me. "Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't go out this weekend because I have the boys this weekend." And she said that I was too nice and I was too sweet and all that, and she was going to help me become a bitch. And some of what she told me was right. Some of it, I don't know. I think maybe she was taking it a bit too far. But she did crazy things. She was funny. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have to like really sit down and think, because what happened was I helped her get remarried. I should have gotten paid. Do you know how many people got married because I played matchmaker? I screwed myself out of a lot of friendships because I would get them a husband and then they would ditch me. Damn. Yeah. I got her to go on Match, and I took pictures. It was in the winter, and I had the Christmas tree up in the corner of the dining room. So she stood in front of the Christmas tree, and me and my younger son kept taking pictures of her. My hand hurt. She was so narcissistic. She wanted like 200 pictures, and then she wanted me to click through all of them, blah, 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 blah. And she went on all these dates. There's a place right now that's a funeral home near the Deer Museum, not too far from where I live. But at the time, it was a real popular restaurant with river views. And actually, both of us were dating. And sometimes I would be at that restaurant for lunch or dinner, and I'd look across the room. And she would be there. So one time I was out with an older gentleman, and she was out with her date, and so I told him I know her. She's a neighbor and a friend, and so we got up, and after dinner we ended up sitting and having coffee with them, and then I invited everyone back to my house, all on the up and up, classy, polite. And so, like, the four of us hung out at my house, and I made coffee, and we talked and laughed and had a good time. See, for me back then, dating was about social. It was about being friendly. It wasn't about, bumping uglies or getting drunk or doing drugs or anything like that. I was kind of old-fashioned. And so I remember the four of us hanging out, and anyway, afterwards, the gentleman that I had dinner with, I wanted to be his friend. He was a little too old for me, and he was talking about like travel with me and all this and that. And I said, but I'll have two kids that I'm still raising. I can't live that lifestyle. And he got like kind of upset and really, butt hurt. But the thing is I really liked him. I would have never taken advantage of him. And he had, trust me, he had a Corvette. He owned his own insurance company in Pine Bush. I think his name was Don Deck or Don Decker. I don't know. He's probably dead by now. That's why I'm giving his name out. And Anna was out with a man named Cleveland, like Cleveland, but Cleveland. And he had type 2 diabetes. And so after the other guy got butt hurt, and then I don't know, it didn't work out with Cleveland and Anna, she wanted to go with my date because she felt that he had money, and she admitted she was gold digger, and she thought that I should go with Cleveland, even though he was a lot older than me, because she thought that I would have more in common with Cleveland or whatever. But we never did that. We didn't, I don't know why I'm telling this story. See, I've told stories about like how I went on a gazillion dates over like a 20-year period. And it might sound like I was promiscuous, but I was anything but. I was really nice to people, and if I met someone and I thought I had a friend that would be like a better match, and I've done that. I have done that for quite a few people. So anyway, I helped Anna with an ad, and she ended up meeting a man from, I think, like around Tampa, Florida, and he had a buffalo ranch where they raised buffalo, like for slaughter, like meat, and he was widowed, and he was older than her. And so anyway, they met, and they had like a whirlwind courtship, and they got married. She kind of manipulated him, and then they sold the house that was heavily mortgaged up on the hill that's probably worth millions now. And she took her elderly mother and they moved to Florida. And I was staying in touch with her. And she was I think she might have been bipolar. And I think the stress of the new marriage and adjusting to like a new situation, she was like kind of flipping out a little bit more. And she accused me. See, one time, her new husband, who I had met a couple of times, and he knew I was like the quote-unquote nice girl, he called me up crying. crying. And so, like, he wanted to talk to someone that he could trust that knew Anna from New York. So, like, I talked to him honestly. And I said, yes, she's a handful, but she's got a good heart. And so, like, I talked to him and I said, look, you just have to work it out. It's, a big thing for both of you. And he was telling me that he regretted the marriage. It was too fast. He told me that she manipulated him. He told me all kinds of stuff. He was spilling his guts. And so anyway, like, I didn't talk trash on Anna, but I said, look, she could be a handful. And, I tried to give him advice. And then I think she found out. And she thought that, like, I said bad things about her. And I told her, I said, no, I didn't. I told him the truth, that you could be a handful, but that you had a good heart. And she got really mad. And she, like, told me off and hung up the phone. And I never heard from her ever again. And then, like, I think once out of the blue, I got an email from her where she just wished me and the kids well. And I, replied in kind. Well, here's the hook. I'm not a gambler, but during the years, like of working and blah, 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 and the whole life, every now and then I would take the bus to Atlantic City. At the time, Leprechaun Lines in Newburgh had like this thing where you got on the bus and they gave you like cash and a voucher for a meal. And I wasn't a big gambler, but I loved the boardwalk and the crazy little stores in the Pier Mall and the IMAX theater and, things that were like kind of simple. So I would, if I had no plans for the weekend, like if I didn't have a date with like another weirdo from the internet and my kids were not home, I would take the bus to Atlantic City and have like this long day out because the bus ride was almost 4 hours each way. So, I did that quite a few times, but I wasn't a gambler. Like, I only played with the voucher from the bus. But apparently, I got on the mailing list for the Tropicana, and they didn't offer me free rooms. But when it was off season, they had like deep discounts, like $29 a night. Plus, they gave you like a free this or free tickets to a show. Or I once saw Cirque du Soleil for free. Plus then the bus package gave you something for free. The place where I worked, when they had their slow season at the beginning of the year, they would say, if you have sick days or vacation days accrued, now would be a good time. And so I would tell them, well, how about I take 3 days and then I would go and maybe spend like 2 or 3 nights in Atlantic City. Believe it or not, hardly gambling, but doing everything else. Plus, they had outlets with shopping. They had a lot of things to do back then. So, on one of these times that I made arrangements to do this, to take like a mini vacation, I'm out on the boardwalk, walking down towards one of those crazy little t-shirt stores. Now, Anna always used to jog, and her new husband loved going to casinos. And so anyway, standing in front of one of those crazy little stores, where they have the racks outside and you're looking at stuff. And all of a sudden, I hear a voice, and it sounds familiar. And I look up, and I see a woman that was jogging, and like she stopped, and I guess she was talking on her cell phone. It was Anna, and I think she was talking to her husband. And I was going to go up to her and say, Anna, is that you? It's me, Jeannie. And then I stopped, and I thought of how she behaved. And I don't want to play victim, but I think I was a lot nicer to her than she had been to me. And I decided to let sleeping dogs lie. And I just, I left it alone. And I figured that, if we were meant to talk, that we would bump into each other again that day or whatever, and we didn't. And I never really know what happened to her after that. But anyway, Another point to the story is sometimes you need to let sleeping dogs lie. You know, sometimes people say things they don't really mean. They're butthurt, they're angry. Um, they just get, I don't know. We're all human. We really are. But they say things, they do things, maybe they regret it afterwards, or they feel foolish. I don't know. I've done that. Everybody does that. Um, Sometimes it's better just to, just keep it moving. It's okay. It's not going to be on the front page of the New York Post. It's not going to be all over the place. If someone notices it and makes a comment about it, so what? Really? Are they going to get into your bank account and take your money? Are they going to be in your living room when you get up the next day? Nope. So just enjoy your life, go forward, be real, keep it real. Maybe spending too much time on the internet is not good. If you're using it as a social outlet, if you're capable of being that social online, maybe you should try to take those social skills to the real world. Trust me, it's really not that difficult and it's not that scary. Anyway, hope this message fell on the correct pair of ears. Take care. Have a great day. Love you. Bye.